I'm Cassandra from Crafts, Gliders, and Things, and today I'm going to be going through some things that you're going to be needing to sew up a cage set for your sugar glider or rat or whatever cute little fuzzy animal you have. Some things you're going to need are flannel, if you want. Some people use two kinds of fleece. I like flannel because I live in Florida and it gets really hot here, and flannel is a little bit lighter weight than the fleece is. I recommend getting 2 yards at a minimum, but to be on the safe side, get 2.5 or 3 yards of each. You're gonna need scissors, a sewing machine, a cutting mat, and a rotary cutter are optional. They're really helpful though. A ruler, pins or wonder clips. I use both. Thread, and if you want to try doing a break test, if you find a thread that breaks really easily, like I have a translucent thread that it's just like stretchy and breaks really easily, don't use something like that. Use something that has at least a little bit of strength to it, because sugar gliders like to chew and pull on stuff. That's why I learned how to sew, because my gliders were destroying the stuff that I bought for them on Etsy, so it's cheaper to buy your own stuff and make it yourself. Sorry, people on Etsy. A pen or a pencil, it's helpful to mark things or to make notes when you're making things. I use a very, very thick interfacing when I make the toy box. It's like the ball pit, but it's a hanging one, and you can put it anywhere you want in your cage, and I use a really thick interfacing on the bottom just to give it some integrity. To make the tabs, I use a 2-inch piece of flannel, and I fold in the two sides, and then I fold it in half again, and then I sew up on the open folded edge. To make that process easier, you can get a bias tape maker, and I would recommend getting either a 1-inch bias tape maker or a 3/4 inch. It's personal preference. I don't use a bias tape maker, and I won't be for these videos, but I mean, by all means, go ahead and get a bias tape maker. It makes the process much easier. I've used it for quilt bindings, and I really do enjoy using those, but for these I use really small strips, and I don't need it. You can use pinking shears, and then if you want to secure the corners of the 2 layers, you could use a little bit of E6000. It's a craft bonding glue. Because mine like to chew on the corners, I'm going to try that and see how that goes. I have not yet made a bonding pouch, but if you are going to be making one, you're going to need a zipper, some pet screen, and some sort of cording to put it around your neck, or D-rings or something like that to make a neck strap. Also, a couple things that I'm going to share with you. On my sewing machine, I'm using a very, very basic sewing machine, and the one thing I recommend if you don't have a sewing machine and you're looking to buying one to be making things for your gliders, one thing that is absolutely, I think, essential for making glider things is having an adjustable stitch length. Stitch width is, yeah, it's nice to have, but don't have to have it kind of thing. Stitch length is really good, because then you can get those really, really tiny small stitches, and some of the machines that don't have the adjustable stitch length, they get small stitches but not small enough. And then I use a 1.5 millimeter stitch length for my straight stitch, and then I use a zigzag on the flannel edges, because the flannel does fray really easily. I use, mine doesn't have adjustable stitch width, so I just use the regular zigzag stitch, and I use a 1.0 millimeter zigzag for that, for the stitch length. Also, for a needle, you can either use a 1280 needle or a 4090 needle. Whatever needle comes on your sewing machine will work just fine. And then as far as places you can buy fabric, you can get it at Walmart, you can get it at Joann's, Fabric.com, Hancock Fabric, Hobby Lobby, and Amazon. And if you need to get the pet screen mesh, you could probably get that at Walmart, and I know for sure you can get it at Lowe's, because that's where I purchased mine, and I got a giant roll of it for $16. I could probably make about 80 pouches with that, but I only need a couple. So that's what you need to get started. Okay, now that you've had time to gather all your materials, I will be posting something like this with all the sizes I use for all my pouches and things, and then you need to cut those things out of the fleece and the flannel. Cutting strips is the easiest way to go. I start with my 12-inch strips, and then I cut my 12-inch squares, and then I cut my 10-inch triangles for the corner hammocks, and then I cut for the tunnels, and then the toy box. And when you're cutting the squares out, you can also be cutting out for your pouches as well. The only thing that is different about the tunnels is that everything else you cut out identical pieces of the fleece and the flannel, or if you're using two kinds of fleece, you know, both kinds of flannel. But when you make the tunnel, the flannel part is a little bit shorter than the fleece. I tried making a completely seamless tunnel. It was a nightmare. I don't suggest doing it. So I do roll over the fleece edges on top, and it works just fine. There ends up being 3 layers of fleece there, so the stitches do get buried pretty deeply, and your sugar glider shouldn't be able to get to it at all. So, cut out your pieces, and then meet me back here, and we will start working on our hammocks. Hi, one thing I did forget is how to make your tabs or your loops for hanging your items in the cage. I go ahead and I make all of mine at the very beginning before I sew anything else up, so I just have a small pile of these tabs on the side where I can just grab what I need as I come to it, because I don't generally put my tabs in before I pin anything. I put them in as I go. But what you want to do is roughly get the 2 pieces of the flannel. I use flannel because there's no give to it, and I don't want there to be give to the stuff that I'm hanging. I don't want somebody to, you know, accidentally, you know, stretch something out and then it gets twisted and somebody's toe gets pinched. You know, if you use the flannel and it's 4 layers thick, it's not going to twist much at all. The only thing is that yes, there are stitches exposed, but once again, it's 4 layers of flannel. The stitches are going to get buried. And we're using small enough stitches that I've never had anybody's toenails caught. And I've been using my own cage sets for almost a year now, so that's what I do. And then once you do that, once you get the 2 edges folded into the center, fold it in half again, and then pin it. And then keep going all the way down. And I cut these 2-inch strips, and I cut it off of the excess from when I'm cutting off my flannel pieces. You know, you'll get an 8-inch piece on the end or a 6-inch piece on the end, and, you know, I just cut my 2-inch strips from that, and then, yes, you get a lot of little tiny strips, but, you know, it's less waste, and, you know, you work with what you got, and I usually have more than enough left over of these when I'm done. And then when you're finished pinning this, use it, you know, between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of a seam allowance against the edge that has the 2 folds, against this edge where the 2 folds are not where the folded edges are. You want it where the 2 folded edges are. Sew it against this, and just down the one side. And then, you know, as many strips as you have, you can chain them. Just keep going one after the other after the other.